it is we really did have everything, didn't we? I mean, when you think about it.
Snyder cut his directorial teeth with commercials and music videos, including Lizzie Borden's Love is a Crime and ZZ Top's World of Swirl, before seemingly coming out of nowhere to direct 2004's Dawn of the Dead, a remake of George A. Romero's 1978 horror film. The film was a success, both at the box office and with movie critics, and while not as divisive as his later works, it still proved to be polarizing, with some critics hailing the spectacle of it, while others rallied against its gore and lack of satire, which is fucking stupid, because that's like watching a porno film and complaining about there's too much sex in this story. Get a life, you fucking losers and weirdos. Interestingly enough, though, James Gunn was the writer of Dawn of the Dead. Snyder's next feature, 300, King Leonidas, was more indicative of his polarizing style, with speed ramping and snap zooms utilized to tell the story of the Battle of Thermopylae. The brazen director would then tackle the film adaptation of Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore's unfilmable graphic novel Watchmen, proof positive that Snyder had the chops to bring comic book adaptations to stirring life. And by the way, Watchmen, amazing. 300 was one of my favorite Zack Snyder films of all time. Probably my favorite movie of all time. Love it. 2013's Man of Steel, a reboot of the Superman franchise, kicked off what could become the Snyderverse. It was a darker take on the hero, certainly much more so than the Christopher Reeve era, with fans and critics alike divided between appreciating the high-energy action sequences that had come to be associated with Snyder and the changes made to the Superman canon, especially the killing of Michael Shannon's General Zod. I don't know why people complain about that shit so much. Nevertheless, it was enough for Warner Brothers to entrust the DC properties to this director, with Snyder in hand directing and producing the DCU films to follow, including eventual plans for 3 Justice League films in total. Unfortunately, after losing his daughter to suicide, Snyder pulled out of Justice League, leaving post-production duties to reshoots to Joss Whedon. We all know how that shit turned out. What a fucking AIDS to the asshole. Whedon's finished... That doesn't make any sense, but go with me here. I'm doing this video, not you. Whedon's finished product, underwhelming to say the least, seen as a critical and commercial dud despite its $657.9 million worldwide gross. Who paid to see that movie besides my dumbass? Within days of the movie's premiere, fans began petitioning for the Snyder Cut to be released, despite no evidence to suggest one even existed. But these fans grew more and more intense with their demands for the Snyder Cut again, without any acknowledgement of its existence, resulting in WBDC being cast as an evil corporation that was denying them the footage they wanted to see. The online abuse of Warner Bros. Executives, film critics, and others who were perceived to stand in the way became more and more toxic. Well, the Snyder cultists are toxic. Regular Snyder fans like myself who wanted to see the cut, that's all we wanted to do. We just wanted to see the cut. We hashtagged. I didn't call out Warner Brothers being fucking morons and I will hurt you and all that shit. We just wanted to see Zack Snyder's final product. It's here in 2019, where Zack Snyder and started going on Vero and started releasing all the images. Soon the cast would join in, pushing for the Snyder Cut to be released. Finally, in 2020, at a virtual Man of Steel watch party, Snyder announces that he will be completing work on his director's cut of the film to be released on HBO Max. Snyder will continue to release teasers and footage right up to the March 2021 release of the 4-hour cut on the streaming service. This means that for 8 straight years, Snyder had worked on little else but Justice League content, which is his right because he wanted to see his vision be fulfilled at least one final time. Since the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Snyder has only had 2 projects of note: the well-received Army of the Dead, which was utter mid, the 2021 Netflix film that saw Snyder return to his Dawn of the Dead days, and the upcoming Rebel Moon, born out of a failed pitch for a Star Wars film, which is a Star Wars like Rebel Moon is. Go fuck yourself if you cried about it. It is what it is. Still excited for it, though. Still, events like the April fundraiser, despite its good intentions, keep Snyder from moving on from the Snyderverse. It would be unfair, however, to place the blame solely on the director, given given how fans refuse to let the Snyderverse end themselves. With the latest movement, hashtag sell Snyderverse to Netflix, stupid ass hashtag, an attempt to keep the director's vision alive on the streaming service, it's unlikely to end anytime soon, even as the new DCU head James Gunn himself has admitted that he and Snyder have had positive discussions. He also said that Netflix has shown no interest and called out Snyder fans for not giving Snyder the freedom to create new worlds, which is ultimately true. And ultimately, it's for Zack Snyder himself to grow a pair of balls and tell his Snyder cultists that, hey, I am no longer working on anything DCEU or Snyderverse related. I have moved on. You know, Warner Brothers and I had this weird exchange. They hate me for some reason. But you know what? I'm happy with Netflix. I'm happy doing new projects with Rebel Moon and Army of the Dead. And the Snyder cultists can't let go. Regular Snyder fans like myself, we've moved on. We've moved on, we don't hashtag anymore, and we're excited for Army of the Dead sequels and Rebel Moon. And that's what Snyder cultists cannot process. So it's up to Zack Snyder to put an end to this shit, because Zack Snyder is afraid that his cult will no longer watch any of his projects. Which, by the way, that means that they were never your fans in the first place. They were just fans of your DCEU work. We're all Zack Snyder fans, the normal ones, and we will watch anything Zack Snyder does because we're Zack Snyder fans at the end of the day, whether he's working on DC projects or not. And that's something Snyder cultists can't comprehend, and they won't let it go because they're fucking weirdos. That's going to be it. Hit like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Sis-Cheeks, and TikTok. And let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? I think Zack Snyder needs to put out a press release and say, hey, and put an end to it once and for all. I'm not coming back, because we all know he's not coming back. But for some reason, Zack Snyder is just so afraid to say that. Like, bro, like we're fans of you. Like, relax. It's going to be okay. Unless he's afraid one of his cultists will like try to hurt him or some shit like that. Because we all know they would, because they are that deranged. But yeah, Zack Snyder, just be like, hey, I'm done, I'm over it, and I want to move on. So there you go. Hit like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, TikTok, your sister's ass. And as always, mwah, truth out.
But daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm your daddy.